Most people, when they retire, want to keep their tax bill as low as possible. And I get that. I'm not a huge fan of taxes either. But what if I shared with you that some of these strategies to reduce taxes at the beginning of retirement could end up costing substantially more over the length of retirement? I'm Brennan Decima, owner of Decima Wealth Consulting. And in this video, I'm going to discuss Roth conversions, which I believe is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal in retirement. In this video, we're going to go over what a Roth conversion is, how much you should consider converting, and some of the mistakes that could turn this really smart strategy into a very expensive strategy. Let's start really simple. There's three main buckets of money. There's money that you've already paid taxes on, and for most people, that's sitting in their bank account or maybe in a brokerage account. There's money that they have not yet paid taxes on, and that's typically in their employer's plan like a 401k or a traditional IRA. And then there's money that grows tax-free, and that's the Roth account. And a Roth conversion is simply moving money from the bucket that you have not yet paid taxes on to the bucket that's tax-free. Now, you're going to pay taxes on that exchange, but in exchange, all of that money and its growth, its dividends, and its interest will be tax-free going forward. So for some people, it may seem counterintuitive. Why pay taxes now if we're not forced to? Well, that why is really interesting, so stick with me. We're going to break it down here. So let's start with a real example, and I'm going to share a story from my client, Carol. Carol had recently retired, and she was 63 years old. She had done an absolutely fantastic job saving. She had $5 million in her employer plan. That's in the bucket she had not yet paid taxes on. She had another $1 million in the bucket she had already paid taxes on sitting in a brokerage account. Carol needed $180,000 per year. And her plan from her original advisor was to take $30,000 in Social Security and take a remaining $150,000 from her brokerage account. Now, the reason for this plan is Carol was a sharp cookie. She did not want to pay any taxes. So the advisor listened to Carol and said, hey, I've got a plan where you can pay next to no taxes for the first 7 years of retirement. And on the surface, that sounds absolutely brilliant, right? So we decided to look at an alternative that focused on smoothing out the tax burden over the course of retirement, as opposed to having a potential tax time bomb from 73 on. Now, when we looked at this, as a reminder, Carol needed $180,000 from her Social Security and savings. She had $30,000 coming from Social Security, and the original plan was to take the $150,000 from her brokerage account. Well, instead of ignoring the retirement account, we took $150,000 from the retirement account. So her expenses were met, and she was in the 24% bracket. Now, when we looked at the bracket, there was still wiggle room. We were still able to top that bracket without moving into the 32%. And Carol had an extra $30,000 in wiggle room. So by withdrawing $150,000 for expenses and converting $30,000, this really did three things. The first is the negative. She expedited what she was paying in taxes on the front end. The second, though, is it dramatically reduced the amount that was going to be in the mandatory distribution bucket. So it lowered her future taxes. And three, it created a tax-free bucket, giving her much more flexibility on the back end of retirement. Now, when we looked at what the impact and the cost of this was, as a reminder, in the first plan, she was looking at roughly $1 million tax bill over the first 20 years of retirement. In the new plan, that dropped to $700,000. That's $300,000 projected to stay in Carol's pocket. This is a huge difference in money able to be used for quality of life or enjoying time with family or making an impact in the community. So this did a few things. Carol was still able to meet her goal of having enough income to enjoy her quality of life. She was able to get money out at the 24% bracket instead of the 32% bracket down the road, and her overall tax bill dropped over that 20-year period. This is where I see people getting Roth conversions wrong. It's the desire to convert too much. The goal is not to convert everything overnight. As a reminder, the amount you convert will be added to your ordinary income. So we don't want to convert an amount that puts you in a higher tax bracket than you may be in down the road. Paying higher taxes defeats the whole point. The second is it also is included in the calculation for Medicare IRMA, which I'll be doing another YouTube video on here shortly. But the IRMA threshold has tiers, so the more you convert, the higher your cost of healthcare. So again, the goal is not to get everything from haven't paid tax to tax-free overnight. It's to do the right amount at the right time. And this takes detailed planning with a trusted advisor. Good retirement planning is a marathon, not a sprint. And everyone has a unique situation. What may be right for your neighbor might not be right for you. You don't take the same prescriptions your neighbor takes just because they're on something. You want something tailored to your needs and your situation. Winning the retirement tax game is not about keeping taxes as low as possible year one. It's about taking a look at the bigger picture, understanding the right amount to convert in the right year. And that's done by knowing your bracket and knowing how much wiggle room you have to convert without hopping into the next bracket. If you need help with this, subscribe. I'll be putting out other YouTube videos to help you successfully navigate retirement. Have a great day.